Hi everyone. Starting this over again. I had some connection issues, but I am talking about trusted leadership, and that is because that is what we need. If you're in America, you've seen a lot of things happening with our leadership, and that's not what the topic is focusing on. But I will say that the main focus is that we need trusted leaders during this time, anytime, right? Because that determines our growth, it determines our success rate, it determines everything about us that we could potentially need. We need leaders that are truly going to be there for us, and not just by word, but also in deed. And so the first point I have is called motivation versus guidance, because the leader must know the difference between the two, because there's a strong difference. When someone needs motivation, it means that they have they produce good work. For an example, they produce good work. Say like you're an artist, painter artist that is, and say that they do great work, but all of a sudden they don't feel inspired, and they've been in their head and in their head and in their head. And so one of the things is that you as their leader take them to the side and tell them to stop thinking. Let's do something else. Let's go have some fun. Like, don't worry about the painting project. It'll come when it needs to come. I'm not going to pressure you to do certain things, right? A leader does not apply pressure. A leader applies stability, right? Because sometimes people spin out. Sometimes people feel like the earth underneath them is shaking and falling to pieces. And what they need is somebody to come in to hold it together and say, "You got this. You are my right hand person for a reason. You are a part of this team for a reason. I saw something in you and I chose you for a reason." And then once they feel reassured, they can go back out once they're well rested or whatever their issue was, right? Once they feel motivated again to do that thing, because most of the time, let's be serious, motivation means there's a lack of joy somewhere in their life. There's some kind of depression or something, things along those lines, right? Where people are not feeling like themselves. Even just heard imposter syndrome, which is a real thing. But when somebody needs guidance, they're looking for direction. They're looking for ways to improve that they may be missing. So, say if you see somebody every time they come in, they keep turning left, and they're like, "Okay, what am I doing wrong?" You, as the leader, should pinpoint and say, "Okay, every time you come in, you turn to the left. How about next time when you come in, turn to the right and see what results you get?" And they get different results. And they're like, "Oh, this is what you meant," right? It's that aha moment. Some people truly cannot see the direction that they're going, and they need the guidance of their leader to help show them. But when a leader is incapable of showing someone um, or guiding someone in the right direction, they get lost at sea. And I'm saying this because I'm literally seeing right now the lighthouse on the shore. The lighthouse guided people on the ship in. That's what a leader is supposed to do, is to lead people into where they're supposed to be going, lead them in the direction and in the way that they're supposed to go. The leader isn't supposed to say, oh, well, I know that you can make it to the shoreline. I know that you can make it to this port. I have faith in you. And they don't show them where they're going. They don't show them the path that they're supposed to take. That leader is setting up their people for failure. Which goes to the next point, listening. A leader, a good leader, trusted leader, should always listen to what their people are telling them. Because otherwise, the leader is just taking upon themselves to do whatever the leader wants without caring about the people that they're leading. And my note says, listen to what a person is saying before you respond with a change your mindset response. It shows that you are more concerned with performance and not the person. Because oftentimes when leaders have a set goal in mind, they can become tunnel vision with that. And so the things that the people are saying to them goes in one ear and out the other instantly. They're not seeing that there's certain things that's happening in the lives of their followers. They're not seeing that their followers are being discouraged. And then some people even go on to say, oh, well, suck it up, just get out your feelings and just do what I tell you. Like, did you listen to what I said? I just said I lost a parent, and you're telling me to just go on as if I didn't. Then in the previous video, I said it as, think about a bank. What if the bank calls you and say, oh, I saw that you just had a bank deposit from your job, but somebody stole the money. There was a breach, but you'll be okay. And it's like, what? Like, what do you mean I'll be okay? What do you mean somebody stole my money? Like, that's my livelihood. That's how I am able to pay my bills and feed my kids. And like no, I need to talk to you. Oh no, there's no need to discuss. I've told you enough. Have a good day. And there are some leaders who literally act like that. And it's not oblivious. It's just disrespectful. If you want to think about it, it's just disrespectful for a leader to tell the person that they're leading or the people that they're leading that they can just get over it. They just have to have a change of mindset. And then, of course, the people that they're leading, I'll just start saying constituents for this point. The constituents will look at them and say, oh, well, this person don't even care about me. So why should I care about whatever, you're doing, right? They have a lack of motivation at this point, because why do I need to help you if you don't even have my best interest at hand? And we see this in so many, I'll say organizations loosely, but in everything, anything that you can think about a leadership. If you have a piss poor leader, how many times will you back up that leader if they don't have and show mutual interest? Even in the stock market, you are investing in something, right? And you make sure daily that it's where it needs to be. But the minute that it starts to fail, and it starts to fail you and your dollar, guess what people do? They pull their money out and they invest it in something else. True leaders are supposed to invest in their constituents so that the constituents can invest in the overall goal. Which leads to the next point, true concern. And I say true concern because there are some leaders that falsely I think of, if you watch Bridgerton, the Queen, how she passively was like, these people are my constituents. Like, I shouldn't, they should just bow down to me, be respectful to me, and I may or may not like them, but like, if you had a leader that was that passive in their concern for your well-being, you're not going to put your best foot forward. In fact, it could be very dismissive, right? And when there's a true concern, when you're concerned about the growth of someone, if there is feedback from people outside of you, you should also, as a leader, ask that person what is going on, because there's always two sides of a story. The best example that I can think of now is the movie Wicked. For years, we've had the story of Oz and the Wicked Witch of the West and Glinda, the Good Witch, and if you've seen it, you know what I mean. And then Wicked comes out, and we see that the Wicked Witch of the West is not so wicked after all. She's different, and because of her differences, the people mistreated her, mistreated others that she took care of, right? And so now we see the true narrative. So when leaders take information, have a conversation with their with other people about their constituents without their constituents present, then it shows that you don't really care for your constituents. It shows that you care about how things make you look, and you will be ready to give the chopping block to your constituents. The problem with that is that most of the time people get rid of the people that really and truly have their um, best interest at hand, that really and truly want to see that goal made. I've seen this so many times in corporate businesses where they will release a person and they say, oh, we just had a difference of opinion, or we decided to go in another route. And then when the person blows up, then they're like, oh, I didn't know that this person, oh yeah. I can even share. I don't mind sharing. Like, um, I left an organization job wise, and because those were some of the things that I were going through on this particular job. And what happened was that they were not seeing the work that I was doing. They were only hearing from others the work that I was not doing. And because of that, I would get heat. It became stressful on the job. Let me put it that way. That's what I mean when I say heat. It was all this pressure for no reason. And that's the other thing. A leader should never apply pressure, but they should apply persistence. They should apply encouragement, right? And so, on one hand, I would meet with, in this particular setting, it was my manager was sending me off to work with a group of people. And then within this group of people, I would have basically another manager or somebody that I reported to. Well, the person that I would report to, once we met, and I said, is everything fine? Is there any improvements? Sometimes I would get, hey, if you can do this, or if you can do that. And then other times, no, everything's fine. There's no concerns. And then the next day, I would talk with my manager and, oh, well, this person says that they had concerns, and I'm concerned that they have concerns, and I'm like, well, I just talked to the person yesterday, and there were no concerns. So, what concerns were brought up? I'm interested in knowing. And it got to the point where I eventually said, well, hey, instead of us going this back and forth, if you have a concern, let's all sit at the table together and discuss. Because whenever I have questions, they get answered a certain way, or they're not, my questions are never answered. And so whenever I fulfill my duties and obligations, then all of a sudden there's a problem. But why is there a problem? And it's not a communication issue, right? Um, Another sidebar is that was God's way of pushing me out of this establishment for something greater and something better. So I will just say that. But a leader should always show true concern. They should always stick up for their constituents first, because at that point the leader should always know who, the scripture says, know those who labor among you. If you don't know your constituents, then you are as a leader is doing a bad job of building relationship. And how can you say that you're going to lead people into greatness if you don't know the skill set and abilities of those that you are leading, let alone that you're going to take with you? Because I'm sure I'm not going to take somebody with me to meet the King of England if I don't know how if I don't know how respectful they are to other leadership. If I don't know if they have great etiquette skills, I am not chancing that for anybody. And so, as a true leader, you should be able to defend your constituents in a way where they feel comfortable coming to you when they need guidance, when they feel like they need to be motivated. Because if they don't feel comfortable, they will never come to you and ask. They will hide out in the shadows and eventually just leave, especially if they don't feel valued. Next point I say is say what you mean what you say. There are some leaders who will say, oh, well, we don't do this, or we do this in our home. And, they get the crowd rallied up, right? But then when you really look at the situation, that is exactly what they do, or that is exactly what they don't do. Meaning the thing that they said that they do, they don't. The things that they say that they don't do, they do. That is confusing. That is manipulation. That is lies. um, because if you, and it also shows that that leader does not know exactly what they're doing. I've often said, if you have to manipulate somebody, that shows a lot about you as a person. And since I'm talking about leaders, it shows what type of leader you are. It shows if you as a leader can be held accountable. It shows if you as a leader can be trusted. It shows if you as a leader can truly lead. It shows more about you than your constituents. It shows more about where your heart is with the project, with the business, with the church, whatever you're the leader of. It shows how much of your heart is truly in it and what you truly think about the project. And I'm kind of going back to what I was saying about true concern. So what are the things that you're listening to become a great leader as you are continuing to sharpen your skills? Are you still pushing rhetoric that you've heard from other people because it sounds good? Or are you truly being motivated by God? Are you truly being motivated to change what's been happening? So for example, say that a city has seen an uptake in crime, and you as the leader of the police force say, I'm going to make sure that crime gets down. Are you going to just say, oh, well, we're going to police every block because that's what worked in the past? And in the past, the people's thoughts were, yeah, it worked to a certain extent, but what happened was that you now shell shock the people that you were protecting, and now the people that you were protecting no longer trust you because they couldn't differentiate between those who were doing the bad versus those that were having a moment. Because we all get angry. Let's be serious. We all get angry. We all have our moments where we kind of spin out. And if the police team, I would just say, if the police team at a certain period of time saw somebody spinning out versus somebody actually committing a crime, and they took the person that was spinning out, that was having a moment, and charged them, now what? And this is just an example. I'm not saying that this is how things are being ran, right? I'm just saying, given this as an example, how can you then say that this is what works successfully if you're not taking into account how it led your constituents? Because a lot of people are always willing to say, oh, well, we're going to do this and we're going to use this and we're going to use that. And then we also have to, just like we've had a discussion in one of the classes that I've taken and about the Constitution. The Constitution is always being updated because what applied in 1776 and, you know, and beyond, right, that will not apply in the year of our Lord 2025. There's just certain things that had to be changed, right, to fit the current situation at hand. And so that leads me to my next point. The leader must be adaptable to change. The leader can't just always put that on other people. The leader also has to be able to change for the better. And when a leader can change for the better, the workplace, the project, the church changes for what it needs to be, for how it's supposed to be. And that is how we get effective leadership. That is how we get trusted leadership because we know for a fact that it works. It's like what they say, it's like Prego, it's in there, right? I was reading some other notes because it's that mainly pertain to that particular job. But trusted leadership is more than just wearing a title, a badge, and taking a picture and receiving awards of leadership. Leadership is about the ability to truly lead people to the direction that they are supposed to go in. When a leader can recognize that a person does not fit in their current position, that leader will move them to a space where they know they will grow and flourish. One of there was a department that I worked in, and I had a granted position, and the leader saw my work ethic, saw my value. And so she said to me, I want you to continue to work at this institution, I say. So in order for us to do that, I have to show you where else you can go. And so she had an ear out for certain positions for me, and eventually I found one through a friend of mine. But still, she wanted to keep me because she saw my value. And she understood that in order for me to grow a little more, to get fine tuned, I needed to stay. I didn't need to just leave because the grant was over. I needed to have more opportunities to flourish, to be educated, to do a lot more. Not just a resume builder, but to truly um, pour more knowledge into me. And so I thank her for that. I've always thanked her, and I will always forever respect her, right? And with that, that's where that encouragement comes in. And when a leader doesn't want somebody to grow, it is because they are fearful that that person might become something better than them, which again, that is an internal issue that the leader is dealing with. A leader should never be jealous of their subordinates. They should always be able to say, that person is because of me. I helped them grow. And I'm not saying that they should take credit for your growth. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that they should be able to say, I was able to be a part of that person's growth. I was able to be a part of the watering of the tree that you see today, of the fruit that you get today. I had a piece in that. And it will come out because the subordinates, constituents, there we go. I did not mean to say subordinates, although for some people they are subordinates, right? Because they're underneath you. But your constituents can go back and say, I am because of this leader. And if you had a chance to be a part of under this leader's leadership, then you will get the same training that I received. I trust this leader so that if I have somebody that needs training the same way, I can send this person to that leader because I know that they're going to get the same input. That's why that was one of the things I did like about it was the professor or the teacher cards. I don't know if they still exist or not, but whenever I was an undergrad, they had teacher cards where you can rate the professor. I think it was rate my professor, and it was good because a lot of students could see, um, okay, I like the way that this professor uh, teaches. I like the way this professor has certain slides. If there's certain information that a student wanted to get out of a class, they would look and they say, oh, this is the teacher that teaches that. Oh, I need to sign up for one of their classes because I want to explore this topic a little more, right? And it's because those teachers had that much of an impact on that person's life. That's what the leader is supposed to do. The leader is supposed to have that good impact on someone's life. And if you as a leader cannot show the amazing impact that you have, that means that you are not feeling up to par. That means you are not up to par, and you should probably sit down. You should probably go back to training yourself to become trained a little more on how to become an effective leader. There was Sean Covey. Let me make sure I'm saying his name right. I want to say it's Sean Covey. They had the seven Yeah, Sean Covey. He's the creator of the seven habits of highly effective people, but he also has that for teenagers, and he has it for different other groups of people. But that's one of the things books that I read early on as a youth, and it was really good. So I would even suggest that the seven steps of highly effective people, because you don't want to just again hold a title just because. You want to make sure that you are as effective and can create positive change wherever the atmosphere is. And I know this isn't a normal topic for this platform, but I felt the need to share that because so many people will talk about being a leader, but they're not as effective as they think they are. And it leaves people lives in shambles. It tears up homes. It breaks up self-esteem. And people leave a leader worse than when they came in. And that is not how a leader is supposed to act or do for their constituents. So thank you for having this moment with me. Thank you for tuning in. Again, please excuse the beeping. I have put in a report for it. But thank you for having this time with me, this moment. Have a good night. And as I always say, don't try to be, don't want to be, don't think about, just be blessed.